I'm the Book Baron. Welcome in, everybody. So today, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because we're gonna be talking about authors I need to break up with. But I feel like you guys always are lovely and wonderful whenever I feel nervous about video. So I'm like nervous, but also I'm like, it's gonna be fine. But I was kind of inspired to do this video, I think it's a couple of months ago now, to be honest, because there's been some authors that I used to love that have put out some disappointing new releases where I'm like, I don't know if we align anymore. And then there's others that I keep trying to love their books. I want to love their books so bad because conceptually I'm like iconic, amazing, but then the execution just never quite loving. And yet I keep thinking like, well, if I try to read this other one, then I'll for sure find one that I love. And it's just never true. This is kind of me giving myself permission to let these authors go and also kind of talk about some of the patterns that I noticed when I went back through my Goodreads and some of my reviews of things that I noticed that started kind of stacking up maybe against these authors. That sounds so sinister, like they're on trial, but I promise this is more so just for me to hold myself accountable and stop putting these authors on my TBR. A couple disclaimers because it's YouTube and just in case this ends up outside my audience. One, I am not really going to be talking about anyone that I'm not reading anymore because there's like moral or ethical reasons. It's literally just about the books. Two, I'm only going to be talking about popular authors because I feel like these are the authors that I struggle more with not picking up because other people are really excited about these books. And so then like I want to be excited with other people. And so then I keep picking up these books. There's also just more out about them. There's a lot of praise for these authors. And so I'm not worried about their reputation taking a hit because I have said something versus someone that's like maybe a smaller author that you've never heard of. And I'm like, yeah, that author, by the way, trash. And finally, if you love these authors, I am beyond ecstatic for you. Like truly, I want to be this person, clearly, because I keep trying to read their books. I keep going back to them, but they're not working for me. I'm not their audience, but if you are their audience, I'm ecstatic that they found you and that these books work for you and that you love this author. So I'm broken up into like two different sections. One where it's kind of like used to love and maybe not so much anymore. And then other ones that I just find consistently miss the mark. So let's dive into the ones that I used to love and maybe fell out of love with. The first author that I have for you is the one that kind of inspired this video. It's Elsie Silver. So I used to love her books. Truly, back when I was reading Gold Rush Ranch, it's all 4 and 5 stars. Chestnut Springs, there was a couple misses for me. We had some 3 stars where I started going, uh-oh, maybe she doesn't always work for me, but a lot of 4 and 5 stars still. And then we get to Rose Hill, which is when she was traditionally published, and the magic is gone. I DNF'd a book. I came back to it. I still only gave it 3 stars. I gave the next one 3 stars. The average rating each series I read of hers is just dropping and dropping and dropping, and the book premises are getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Like we're trying to do too much. So back when I was on my 5-star kick, like when I was loving Reckless and Heartless and Front Runner and A False Start, I saw a lot of heroes that saw past offenses, did a lot of emotional work, flawed heroines that really earned their depth, that were complicated for very valid reasons. The couple really had banter that just had this incredible chemistry to it. The heroes were like wish fulfillment, but there was still some like tension to the relationship, a real reason why they couldn't really be together. And then on top of that, there's a really rich cast, a lot of great side characters that helped drive the momentum, that also had good chemistry together and had that sense of found family. Now, the 3 stars that have started cropping up that I'm consistently getting now, I'm just finding the books to be forgettable, which is strange because I feel like there's so much effort put into making the setup bizarrely unique. Like one of them is a single dad because he donated sperm and then his daughter seeks him out when her mom's in a health crisis, and we're doing too many things there. And yet, they are utterly forgettable. The heroes are generic feeling. They're almost like too perfect, too chill. There's no defining features to them. And the heroines are pulling me in for much the same reason. They sort of have like one thing that's like their thing. Like she's from rival family. She's country singer. And there's not much more to them that I feel like I really identify with, or I really feel like it makes them complicated. It makes me want to like root for them. And then I was also noticing that there's not quite as much tension, not quite as much stakes. There's a little bit too much of kumbaya. Everything's just working out, and a lot more telling rather than showing. And I think it sucks that I'm at this impasse with her, because I have so much love for those prior books and I will continue to love them and sing their praises. But I think I need to call it, because at this point, continuing to pick up her books is just breaking my own heart. In a very similar vein, we have LJ Shen. So LJ Shen in the past has had some more ups and downs rather than consistently delivering for me. But in general, she was like a 4-star author for me. She really got me into dark romance, bully romance. I loved Vicious by her. It absolutely blew me away. It gave me this incredible love for high school bully romances. And that series, there were some bumps in the road, but I liked it in general. I tried out a few books from the Next Gen series, Angry Gods, which is Vicious's child? Just sounds so clunky, but you get what I'm saying. I really like that. That had spice that was unique. That stands out in my mind, rent-free in my head. Like I can remember so much from that book without it feeling like it was trying too hard. And then I tried to get into some of her like more recent releases with Mafia and other standalone books that she had written, and I can't get them to work. They are consistently 2 and 3 stars. And the most recent one that I read, Bad Bishop, which I found frankly just to be kind of like straight up offensive at times, I gave that a 1 star. We are just going downhill. We're going in the wrong direction. And I think what really captured me with Vicious was we had this hero that was, he's a bully, he's used to getting what he wants, and he keeps his personality throughout the book. He doesn't magically become saccharine, but he does bend enough to be compatible with the heroine. And the heroine really was defined by her values and her interests, and she felt a little bit more fleshed out and like she had some dimension to her. When there was tension, it required a sacrifice from the hero that actually cost him something, not just like something monetarily, but something he truly valued. And what I started noticing with her books is that the villainous heroes became kind of generic grumps and didn't seem to have a reason why they had this personality other than just because. It feels more like he's grumpy because he really likes her, and you're like, okay. The heroines that I was continuing to get felt like they were built from a checklist of what's popular. Let's do pumpkin spice lattes, true crime podcasts, and astrology, and had a naivete to them that was kind of past the point of believability. And it just felt like there wasn't enough from her point of view that was really driving things forward. And I found that that then bleeds into the relationship where we're not really getting this connection. We're just getting these two archetypes that are kind of shoved together, even though I don't think there's a lot of chemistry, and I don't think that these two are actually a very good fit. And then there's also been a thing with food being used during spicy times. I really need it to stop. There's a lot of food items being inserted in non-mouth holes. And then also the books are just getting too long. I think I've really just reached my breaking point, unfortunately, with Bad Bishop. I think I was still kind of hoping that maybe some of the books that I was reading were just random misses that sometimes happen with authors that you still like. But I think this one, unfortunately, really showed me that she might have written some God tier books for me, but she hasn't given me much since then. And I really just need to move on. Next up, we have Penelope Douglas. So she was really another cornerstone of my dark romance journey, my taboo romance journey. She would do a trope and she would just like execute it. And while it might not have been an absolute like 5-star in my mind, there was maybe something with execution that I found like a little bit corny or didn't quite land for me. These books still had a lot of staying power, like Punk 57, Birthday Girl, even Bully. And these stories just, I had an affinity for them because these were the books that I had been searching for so long that I could never find through traditional publishing. But then I kept reading and I got into Devil's Night and Credence and Five Brothers, and I was noticing we're having a stacking up of 3-star reads. The books will pull me in, but they rely rely so heavily on those plots to keep you entertained and interested that I was actually finding them, once we got past the setup, very forgettable because there was so much with the romance that I felt like was left on the table. We were spending so much time trying to get this interesting plot set up that we forgot about building out the romance and the couple themselves. And I wasn't getting that same emotional payoff that I got from Birthday Girl from Punk 57 that kept things a little bit simpler, but then spent much more time on that relationship. And lately, what I've been finding is that these are entertaining books in the moment, but just something that won't stick with me. So I'm really grateful to Penelope Douglas for how she started me off on dark romance and taboo romances, but it's definitely time for me to move on so that I can just keep my memories of her very fond. Now we're gonna get into authors that maybe never landed for me, and I keep coming back for more. I can't help myself. I want to be one of those people that loves these authors because they're quite popular. I feel like their books should work for me. So the first one on this list, I'm sure if you've been around, this is no surprise, Rena Kent. I cannot stop picking up her books, and simply put, they never work out for me. I shouldn't say that. I've had one book that I liked, and it's because it kind of broke her mold, but we'll get into that. So I attempted to read God of Malice a couple of different times. I DNF'd it the first time, rated it 3 stars. The second time, God of War, I also gave 3 stars. The only book that I've had some success with is God of Fury, which was her first MM. When it really comes down to it, I think the reason she doesn't work for me is because Rena Kent has a formula. She knows what she likes to write. She knows what her audience likes. She has a psychopathic hero that is kind of a fuck it, I don't care, I'm gonna do what I want type. A lot of the plot is driven forward by the hero and heroine running into each other constantly, the hero kind of messing with the heroine. There's a lot of crossover from her different books and overlap in scenes, so you kind of get that scene from a different angle, and now you know who's in that mask, and now you know how this interplays with this person. And as one of my subscribers so eloquently put it, Rena Kent is going to single-handedly save the planet with the amount of recycling that she's done. And you know what? Iconic, and you're not incorrect. And I also think this is why her first MM book was the only one that's ever worked for me, because it really does break that cycle. This one for me had a lot more depth. There was strong mental health themes, and there wasn't that ability to have quite the same formula because you have a male-male romance. I didn't feel like we had just a psychopathic hero that wasn't crafty and just kind of like does whatever, but someone who was a little bit more intentional because he was really going after the guy he wanted. I didn't feel like the scenes got too repetitive, but even if they did, because I liked the couple, I didn't mind. And because there was no heroine, there was no immature heroine to annoy me. So unfortunately, I do think that Rena Kent just has a formula that doesn't work for me. I feel like it should, but simply put, I'm just not that girl. So I am going to respectfully and politely move on, remove myself from this situation. Next up, we have Karina Halley. Kind of, Before You Crucify Me, am specifically done with her fantasy books because this woman can truly write in whatever genre she wants. And she has a breadth of work that is truly incredible. Her contemporaries are still a yes from me, but her fantasies are a hard pass at this point. I've read, well, fantasies and paranormal. So I've read Black Sunshine, River of Shadows, Crown of Crimson, A Ship of Bones and Teeth, Hollow, all 3 stars. Every single one of them. Oh wait, no, A Ship of Bones and Teeth was 2 stars. So the pattern that I found was not working for me is that the hero is sort of a bland, villainous, dark man that is ever so horny for the heroine. There are magical reasons that cause him to be so horny and want to fuck the heroine. And the heroes, honestly, are utterly interchangeable. You could pluck one from her book and plop it in another, and they would be the same person. The spice is prioritized, I find, over relationship development because of the magical horny reasons. The heroines don't seem to have a ton of agency. The plot is something more so that happens to them, or if they are making decisions while plot is happening, they're making dumb ones. And I think because of that, I don't quite love the heroine because they're not really a participant in their own story. And with all of these, there is loosely a plot, but that's not really what's driving things forward. It's mostly the characters. Because I don't necessarily love them, I just don't end up loving her fantasies. Now, I'm definitely going to read more of her horror romances and her contemporaries because I think she has incredible settings and atmosphere and lovely descriptions of food, but her fantasies, I gotta part ways with her on that one. Next up, another from the beginning of my dark romance reading journey, we have Gianna Darling. So she had a win straight out the gate. I really enjoyed Welcome to the Dark Side, although I really questioned whether I would still like this book nowadays because I remember vaguely having some issues with the book and kind of being like, no, shut that down. I'm enjoying some parts of this so much that I need to squash those bad feelings. But after that, I read a couple different of her duets, When Heroes Fall, Enthralled, and I just can't get out of that 3-star slump. There's never quite the payoff I'm looking for with these duets. And I think part of it is these books often go on way too long. I even remember that happening with Welcome to the Dark Side. The heroines seem to have some presence in that first book, but don't really go through any kind of growth. Very cringy dialogue in interactions with other characters from former series or other interconnected series. And the hero is very thinly developed. He's more of an archetype. Are you starting to notice a pattern with the authors that I need to let go of? I like my characters well-rounded. And I just think it's so unfortunate because I do have such fond memories of Welcome to the Dark Side. But I do think that Gianna Darling is a case of I want her to work for me because I see how much she works for other people. And yet every time I pick up one of her books, it just never quite works out. So I need to lovingly say she's not for me and move on to other authors. Now, the last 3 are ones that I haven't read as much from, but I'm calling it early because I really need to quit because I'm catching myself with these authors making the same mistakes that I've made with the ones that I just talked about previously. So first up, we have Skye Warren. Conceptually, I love the idea of her books. Execution-wise, I never quite love. It never goes quite deep enough psychologically. So I've read Wanderlust and The Professor, I think, which is part of her like Tanglewood University series. They have such strong openings, but then deteriorate over time. The plot is very overloaded. There's too many subplots going on and too many other things that we're trying to tackle and not getting depth on the central romance or depth on the heroine. And there's a lot of emotional beats because we're trying to do so many things that just feel unearned. And I think part of that is because her books are very short. They border on being a novella. So this is one of those times that I'm just going to trust myself, trust my instincts. I do need to call it here. Next up is Amo Jones. So Amo is such a vibes-based writer. I've read Sicko and The Silver Swan from her, and both of them are just like the okayest books I've ever read. It's so interesting because like similar to Skye Warren, they always start out with some pizzazz. There's something that hooks me into her books, but it's vibes from there on out. I need some more logic. I need some more grounding to stories. I can't have every scene be in service of a vibe rather than because of a logical reason why a character would be acting this way or why this plot point is in place. And there's so much repetition in her books as well. So sadly, I desperately want Amo to be for me because her concepts are fascinating, frankly. But I'm not just a vibes-based reader, although I wish I was sometimes. So sadly, we're gonna say adieu. And finally, one that you may have not even heard of me reading, and that's because I so reliably don't have her books work out that I've decided to not read anything more from her and then still read another book from her. And I'm like, you need to quit. You know you don't like her. What's wrong with you? So I've read Tattered Stars, Visions of You, and All the Missing Pieces, I think was my final straw. 3 stars across the board. Never a 4, never a 2, always a 3. I want to love her so bad though because I hear other people talking about her books and yet I just never feel anything for the characters. I never quite feel attached to them. The relationship I just feel like doesn't get enough development or stays very surface level, and the suspense line always feels like it ends up the same with the heroine kidnapped and having to be rescued by the hero, to the point that like truly I can't tell her books apart sometimes based on the description. Like I'll see a cover, even the covers are kind of the same, but like I want to be that girl. I want to be that girl that loves her books because I'm like, surely this would be how small town works for me, is with some suspense built in, right? And yet it's a no. All right, so those are all the authors that I need to break up with. I think the pattern that I noticed the most, or the patterns rather, that I noticed across the authors and things that I need to really be on the lookout going forward. One, if there is a visible formula that I start identifying from an author, I need to call it quits then. Because once that starts happening, I become less and less impressed with subsequent books, because the first time I saw that formula, I'm going to like it more that time because it was new. It was interesting, it was fresh, and the more times I see it, the less it's going to land. And I think this is part of the reason that I like a lot of authors in concept, but not in execution. Because the packaging sounds good, but the execution just doesn't work out. Any over-reliance on tropes, that's gonna be a no. Having too many, not bringing a slightly unique flair or a really well-executed tight trope. I think this is kind of interrelated with the formula issue when there gets to be an over-reliance on those tropes, because I don't feel like there's as much time put into development because it relies on them to really carry the story and use it as like a shortcut to get you bought into a concept. If I don't connect with the hero or the heroine, if they feel interchangeable, if there's something that I feel like is missing where I don't have that emotional depth, or they don't feel like they've got that rootability factor, I'm never going to connect with the story. I need those characters to be someone I'm in their corner cheering for them, regardless of their flaws. I don't want a formulaic person that's just like check, 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 check. These are the things that are gonna make you feel like you identify with her. I want someone that's actually got some depth. If the books become overly long or too repetitive, if I feel like I am seeing the same scenes kind of fill out the middle of the book, I definitely need to move on from that author, because those books keep getting more and more bloated as you go, and then they start turning into duets for some reason. If I feel myself saying, this time's gonna be different, or I'm gonna push through because hopefully it'll improve, it doesn't. And I need to just admit that the books are not working for me, and it's okay to move on, even if they used to be a favorite author. I think those are the ones that I really have a hard time letting go of, because like at one point they did work for me, and I don't want to use that like former favorite author status as a way to give them a blanket pass to waste my time. I think the bottom line is I really just need to trust my gut a little bit more instead of like hoping that something's going to be different this time. So hopefully this video will help me keep myself accountable. You can, I'm not joking, virtually slap me if you see me put any of these authors' books on my TBR going forward. You just give me a little across the face, virtually, of course. Truly, I need to let them go. So at this point, I would love to hear from you now. Who are the authors that you need to break up with? Who do you keep kind of going back to? Do you have any overlap with authors that I have on my list? If you love these authors, you are welcome to talk about how you love them in the comments as well. I'm on your side with that. I love that you love them. I love that they have found their audience. With all of that, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like this video if you did end up liking it. Do not forget to subscribe as well if you would like more content from me. I know I would really love to have you back for more videos, so I really, really hope that I see you on my next video. Bye-bye.